Okay, y'all, this is part 3 of our vocab, and I want to start by going over some things that we've talked about in class, but I don't know if we know the definitions of it. So I want you to do your vocab thing just like you did before. I just started this a minute ago, sorry, and I got interrupted by my husband who didn't know I was recording. He was leaving for the day. So I wanted to start with talking about unalienable rights. What's unalienable rights? We hear that we're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Most of us know what that means, or know what that says, but what does it mean? Well, if I'm a United States citizen, I have certain rights. Well, if I go to China, they have other rights, but they don't have a lot of the rights that we have, and they don't have that many rights, to be honest. So if I worship God here, I'm allowed to. If I go to China and I worship God, I can get arrested and thrown in prison, and my government would try to have to negotiate for me. But they have every right to do that. If I'm in their land, I'm expected to obey their laws. Just like if someone came here from Iraq and their daughter put on Western clothes and wanted to date Western men, somebody from Iraq or Iran could kill them. And it's called an honor killing, and a lot of times they'll go to court over there, and it'll get dismissed, or it'll go through their system, and they will be let back out on the streets because they acknowledge honor killings, and even though technically they say they don't, a lot of times they let the person back out on the street, or they look the other way, wink, wink. Kind of like how we can accuse King George. Sorry, the sun's changing. How we accuse King George of murder in our citizens, and then given a mock trial to the people that murdered them so that they could go free, and then at times given us a mock trial with pretended offenses. Okay, so if we go to another country, they have certain laws, we have certain laws, we have to obey certain laws. Well, what our founders are saying is there's certain unalienable rights. In other words, I can't go somewhere and go, well, you're an alien, so you don't get these rights. You're a foreigner, you don't get these rights. There are certain rights that you should get as a human being for living and breathing and, just waking up every morning, that there's certain rights endowed to you. So under unalienable rights, I put rights every person should have as a human. You can put anything like that. Rights that every person should have. If they're a citizen, if they're a foreigner, no matter who they are, in any country they should have. And that's what we're declaring. There are certain unalienable rights. The next vocab word is endowed. We're endowed by our Creator. What does that mean? And endowed, I would just put given. We're given by our Creator. So I just did endowed, and then I put by our Creator so they know what we're talking about. Given by our Creator. Endowed. So I'm sorry I had to play catch up because I had to pause. All right. Also, we hold these truths to be self-evident. What does that mean? Self-evident. So we're going to do self, kind of like hyphen, okay? Evident. Hold these truths to be self-evident. What does that mean? Obvious. I want to say duh. Obvious. Obvious. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Everyone knows it. I'm going to put obvious, comma, everyone knows this. All right? It's information that everybody knows. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Information that everybody knows. Obvious to everyone. That we're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And really, pursuit of happiness is... we have rights here in the United States. If you go to, my sister went to France a few years ago. She goes to Paris and in a lot of countries all the time. And she was talking to a shopkeeper who had sold a lot of merchandise. And the girl said, you're only allowed to sell but so much. So she's only ever allowed to make a certain ceiling. And then the other people she works with gets credit for it. It's kind of, you can't just say, hey, if you're a great salesman, you make all this money. It's just not like that. In a lot of other countries, it's just not like that. Where in the United States, you can start a company and you can make a lot of money. There's not a socialist system. We didn't set up a socialism. One of the ladies I learned a lot from, Jessica Hulsey with Kono. She's the one that gave me that John Quincy Adams sheet that I'm investigating. I haven't forgotten about you, Philip. Because I did know he went with his dad, and his dad asked him to be a secretary. I did remember that after class. I went, oh, I knew that. And his dad did ask him, though, and take him and needed him as secretary. But he did a lot of those things. So I'll look up that information for you. But anyway, she wanted to teach her students about socialism and about communism. So how she taught was she Socialism, a lot of times in a socialistic society, it says everybody kind of one for all and all for one. So you go to a socialist society and doctors might have to have a second job, even though they've had all that training, because they're making what everybody else makes, and it's kind of all for one for all. You know, we kind of all make the same, and they're doing whatever they can. Like in Mexico, the doctors over there a lot of times work second jobs. Well, so what she did is she said, we're going to have a communist lunch. So, and you hear all these Marx and communists. You hear people talking about, kids talking about now like it's not a big deal. It is a humongous deal, you guys. So she had all the kids she was teaching. I can't remember what ages she was teaching, but I want to say it was like fourth or sixth grade or something. She teaches a lot of history classes, and she had them bring in their lunch. And she said, when you bring your lunch, I want you to put, you know, your favorite stuff in there and bring a great lunch. So they all brought their great lunch, and she gathered all the lunches up, and then she took sandwiches and she gave kids, you know, you can have a peanut butter sandwich, you can have peanut butter and jelly, you can have whatever, turkey. She kind of doled them all out, and she gave them all a sandwich and maybe gave them water to drink. And then she had a couple of teachers that were helping her, and the rest of the day when she was teaching, so she gave them what she thought that they needed to sustain life. And then the rest of the day, she ate their Twinkies and their Ding Dongs and their pie. Like she said, we are going to eat all of this in front of them, and we are going to demonstrate communism. And so that's what she did. The leaders in a communist society and in a socialism society, because see, they don't really believe that. The leaders don't believe it either. You go to any country that operates in socialism, and you watch the leaders who have, I mean, it's ridiculous the wealth they have. Look at Saddam Hussein and the wealth, the dictator, and the wealth that he had, and his people had nothing. Well, that's what you find in a communist society or in a society built on socialism. The leaders get everything. And so they ate the Ding Dongs and Twinkies and the everything that they wanted. They ate right from this what is it called, the juice boxes and all that. They did it right in front of the kids all day long. And you know, if you know Jessica, you know they don't mess around with her, and she's teaching like, nope, we're having a lunch. Well, the next day or a few days later, they didn't always eat lunch together. One of the kids said they had to bring their lunch for something. I don't remember if they're going on a field trip. And he goes, this isn't a communist lunch, is it? Because they learned their lesson. It is not good in a society. When you all make the same, then you lack entrepreneurs. It's just like in Jamestown, a lot of our early, in the Plymouth colony too, they were all working the same plot, and people just refused to work. They just refused because they were all working. They say, I'm working, this guy's not working, so we're not going to work. So it didn't get work. It wasn't until they gave the people each a plot of their own land that they could work after they volunteered with the plot for the whole neighborhood or whatever. They said, okay, in this colony, you have to work this plot. Then with your extra hours, you can work your own plot of land. So you could grow a lot. You could make more money if you were industrious, or you didn't. All of a sudden people started working, and they said, if you don't work, you don't eat. And all of a sudden everybody's working. And I mean, people were literally starving, and still they weren't getting anyone to work. Now all of a sudden they got people to work once they could own their own land. And we knew that as a country, and so that's why we did it. All right, so self-evident, obvious to everybody. How did I get on that whole thing about socialism? I don't remember. I'll probably get back to it in a minute. Or we're talking about endowed by our Creator with certain rights, okay, that are self-evident. Also, oppression is to keep people down, to oppress people, and tyranny. So, but I want us to put on our next list, unless you already have it somewhere, tyranny. Tyranny. Tyranny is what we accuse, when we're reading over the Declaration, we accuse King George of tyranny a lot. And we're, because of this, because of this, because of this, because of this, we list our grievances, and then we say, you know, this is tyranny. This is what tyranny is. All right, so I put tyranny on here. Tyranny is being ruled by a tyrant, not given rights as citizens, and maybe put an oppressive dictator. Because we're saying you are, first of all, he is paying people and encouraging people. Dictator, it's hard for me to write and spell. To scalp our people that go up west. He's encouraging people to raid our villages out west so that we won't expand, so we can have control. He has standing armies in our streets. He has, our people are being murdered, and the people murdering him aren't being put to justice. All the things that we've talked about. He's pillaging our land and our coasts and wiping out our laws and not responding. One of the things is, it just talks about how he just doesn't respond and how that is tyranny. One of the things says he has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. In other words, he has abdicated. He has stepped down from our place as our leader. He has abdicated. It's right under for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases, which we're allowed to have legislatures because, it's our little area, and we're not represented. His abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. So abdicated is like he stepped down as our leader. So we'll put abdicated as the next one. Abdicated. Like if someone abdicates their throne, they step down. So under abdicated, I want, we'll just put abdicated. And then step down as our leader. I'm going to put and become our dictator. Because in this case, it's kind of what, and you can even put that line in the declaration. I printed out my declaration like that. So he abdicated. He stepped down as our leader. He's withdrawn his protection from us. So he's abdicated his whole role as our leader. It's just, he at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbaric ages and totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation. That is all in our declaration. Why don't we know that? Nobody knows that. You guys know it, but nobody knows it. The next one's awesome too. Is constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. The things that we're accusing King George of is really tremendous. If I say somebody is refusing his assent, so we're going to put that on here, refusing his assent, which is also in the declaration. So we're just kind of taking our documents, refusing his assent. Because I talk about that. He's refusing his assent to our laws. Let's see where I have that. Hold on, I have that underlined. But he's refusing. Yeah, if I say somebody's refusing his assent, it's like, let's see where I put that. Hold on. I have refusing his, not saying yes. So if we say, King George, can we do this? And he just doesn't respond. He's refusing. So by therefore, he's denying us. So not telling us yes or no, not giving us an answer, and not giving an answer. So we'll ask him questions and then just won't give an answer. He just is not being our leader, and we're listing all the rules why we basically are calling him a tyrant. A redress. When I say that John Quincy Adams brought a redress of grievances. I'm going to put of grievances in parentheses. And, every Monday he brought a redress of grievances. That we have outlined in our Constitution. So he would bring a stack of papers, a huge stack of papers every Monday, but much bigger than this. And they would all be against slavery. And then remember, with John Quincy Adams, they did the gag order rule, and they tried to stop him from bringing his redress of grievances. Well, redress, like R-E-dress, D-R-E-S-S, of grievance, means in the Constitution we have redress of grievances means we can tell you this is what we're unhappy with, and you have to respond to us. You have to address them. You have to give us acknowledgement and talk to us about them and give an answer or an explanation.